Shwmai a croeso cynnes, and welcome to the What's Your Story podcast. I'm James Owen, a Welsh filmmaker and storyteller, and I'm passionate about sharing stories. This podcast is all about business owners sharing their journey, and we'll be speaking with directors, entrepreneurs and creatives from all across Wales to learn from their experiences. We believe everyone has a story to tell. What's your story? Shwmai, croeso, welcome to the next episode of What's Your Story. And today we've got a bit of a different episode. We tend to film stories within the world of business, within creative industries and entrepreneurs. And today we've got somebody from the world of sport. And as someone who loves rugby, I'm really excited to talk to today's guest, who's from Glynneath, up the road. He's separated by the A465 with his local team. We've got Craig Evans, who is a professional referee. And yeah, we got him in the studio to share some fun stories about rugby. Craig, thanks for coming down.
No problem at all. Apologies I couldn't make the previous one with being away, but I wasn't going to let you down twice anyway.
Oh, I really appreciate it. He booked in nice and early, and in fairness, he gave me a lot of notice. He had a game to referee in South Africa, so fair enough. You wouldn't have known.
No, it was.
Was it one of the quarterfinals? Was it?
No, this one was a quarterfinal. It was just the last couple of rounds of the regular season, but I was down in South Africa, which feels like my second home.
Been there a few times, haven't you?
Yeah, I wouldn't like to count how many since I started refereeing many moons ago, but I've done 8 trips to South Africa in the last 12 months, ranging from the URC to the international stuff when they played Ireland last year, that mega series, and then down to Nelspruit, tail end of September for the end of the Rugby Championship. I managed to jump on a safari as well, so that was pretty cool. Good
experience. So you're 33 years old now?
Yeah, 33.
33, you're a professional referee, and you've had a great sort of progression in the sport from refereeing your grassroots sports right up to international level and even at World Cups, SEMs and the Olympics. So I think it's, for somebody of your age to achieve some of those things is actually fantastic. And I hope one day you will have that opportunity to referee a World Cup. As an official ref, you've been there as an assistant ref, which by all means is a fantastic achievement. But to see what Nigel Owens has done for the sport, so hopefully you can carry on that legacy as a Welsh referee.
Yeah, look, I think he's got that mantle for quite a few years, and look, just touching on Nigel, what he achieved in the game is absolutely incredible. And to have him as my coach now the last few years, and obviously going forward in the URC is pretty cool. Yeah, like if he wasn't there in Wales, in my corner, I'm not sure who at the moment I'd choose. So you just got to cherish the fact that he still wants to stay involved in the game, given how busy he is with the farm, which I'm sure everyone sees on social media. He probably gives it the big one about cleaning the cows and the mess. He probably doesn't do that. No.
I did ask for Nigel to come on, but he was busy, so I asked you instead.
Yeah, story of my life.
Second to Nigel. But Craig, growing up, like I played for the Scarlet Academy, my local club, Furness United. I dreamed of playing for Wales. I think many young boys in Wales have that dream of representing their country. Were you somebody who had that aspiration to play for your country in rugby union?
Yeah, of course, but it took a massive turn currently. Yeah, look, everyone wants to play for Wales, and don't get me wrong, my dream was no different to yours growing up. But I got a younger brother who's 2.5 years younger than me.
Better looking?
Pardon?
Better looking?
No, he's a hard paper on. but no, look, he was like, I'm not naive. I haven't got an ego to tickle. He was by far the better player. 2.5 years younger, someone who's scoring like 80, 90 tries a season in junior level. I'd be lucky to go over 5 times probably. But yeah, look, we both played for the same junior club. Like I know you introduced that I come from Glynneath. But I played across the road in Cwngrach just because they had a junior section at the time, albeit at a player year up. But that's where I played all my junior rugby up until under 16s when the team folded, where I went down this avenue. But yeah, to come back to your point, I did want to play for Wales. Obviously, I'll never play for Wales now, but I was certainly not the player my brother was, so I decided to take a different route, yeah.
And growing up, you were playing, junior rugby. Your sort of idea was, well, perhaps I'll do a refereeing course to maybe get me to youth rugby, and then I'll continue to play on the park. But that sort of introduction to that course that your parents paid, what, 15 quid for you to do?
Yeah, £15, yeah. Yeah, you can't get much for £15 these days.
How much is it these days for a referee course?
I think it's much more than that, but it's a lot more enjoyable now than when I done it. I remember sitting in Taibach RFC from about 9 o'clock in the morning till about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Death by PowerPoint. It literally was that. The best thing about the day was the buffet lunch at 12 o'clock. Genuinely, it was a good spread, but we had an exam at the end of it, and you had to get 70% to pass the exam, and I failed. I had 69. 1% off, but done it again, and I got it. But it was quite mind-numbing, but I knew no different. I certainly learned a lot from just that basic intro course about the laws and what I've been playing for the last 6-7 years, even though I was only a youngster. And some of the guys I was sat next to from Gleneath, who are good friends of mine now, they didn't know that, and they were probably close to retirement age, you know what I mean? So it's crazy sometimes how I really think, going on a bit of a caveat, that some of the players out there can go up 5-10% in their abilities if they just know exactly what they can or can't do, because they'll either be able to challenge the ref at the right time with the right questions and make them think, or they can just do stuff in certain areas in a split moment, which can lead to a penalty, can lead to a turnover, can lead to releasing pressure on themselves or as a team.
Ebenet
Oh, yeah. Look, he's a man mountain. Him and Achis Nyman next to each other. You shake your hand and you kind of lose it. Like it's incredible species.
I've seen a couple of clips where he's like in play. He'll go, it might be he's going around the side of the ruck, but the ball's. He's
clever.
Quite smart in his game management, isn't he?
Yeah, he's really clever, and a lot of the South Africans are clever. Obviously, they got ex-international referee, and then now is in Jaco Piper, part of Razi's coaching staff. So they're hot on it. They know what they can do, and when they do it, they're very good at it as well.
So growing up after sort of achieving your referee course, getting that experience as a young ref, you would have refereed at grassroots level. And I knew you as a personal trainer. Yeah. So when I was actually training with the Scales Academy at 16 years old, I would have met you in Robert Davis, the local gym.
Yeah, of course.
You would have been a PT then, and obviously no, this is your full-time profession. But talk me through the progress of you just refereeing grassroots games, going from Division 6 up to now, obviously, at the international level.
Yeah.
What have you learned through that progression?
Yeah, it was a long process. Like when someone wants to become a carpenter, an electrician, or a plumber, they seem to do a bit of an apprenticeship, whichever they got to do to qualify. And really, when I started back then, it felt like an apprenticeship, and I got into it by starting off with junior rugby, like you said there, because my team folded. I thought, I'll just do it till youth rugby comes next year. And then youth rugby came, didn't really kick off for the team, didn't really get off the ground, so I thought, I'm just going to forget about it for now, play, and I'm just going to go watch Gleneath, the local club. And it got to a point where my father would be asking me on a Saturday afternoon, who won the game, boy? How did they get off? Did they win? I was like, I don't know. I can't tell you. So then the penny just dropped, and I want to go watch Gleneath, but I'm just there, just chewing the fat against the railings, paying no attention to what's going on, just a waste of time. And I thought, well, I'm not going to play for Wales. I still want to be actively involved in the game and in the mix. I don't want to be on the sideline barking as a coach or whatever. So I got the referee thing. I enjoyed it on a Sunday. Let's just give it a go and see if I can make anything of it. I can't play internationally for Wales, but maybe I can get their referee in. And lo and behold, I can sit, after 10 years in the job, and I've done it. I've not completed what I want to get or where I want to achieve, but I'm in a position now where if you'd asked Craig 8 years ago, would he be happy now? You'd have bit his hand off for that. But whenever you get to something, what's new? The grass is always greener. And like I said to you before we started, it's like you got an end game or an end goal, but you really got to commit to the process of getting there. It's a long process. You get good games, bad games, you get sessions you don't want to do, you get cancelled flights. Things will go up against you, but it's just the way it is. It's the way the cookie crumbles. But going into that, then it was like I'd done a bit of second team rugby, and then I got into Division 6. I think my first one was Nant Garedig. I think my first Division 6 game was down there. I never forget when Nigel was reffing. I think I was still on the Friday night, and he'd done a bit of mentoring me back then. he came down straight from Ulster to watch the game down in Anchorage, in fairness to him, which I really appreciated that. And they had a raffle in the club. And he said, they came round and said, oh, do you want a ticket? I said, no, I got no money on me. He said, oh, yeah, boys, a five. I get five, but don't worry about it. Well, lo and behold, I won 3 of the 5 prizes. I didn't give him anything to Nigel. I'm keeping all that. But so yeah, when I started, it was like Division 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They decided to put the championship in then before we had the old premiership. So it was another league. So I really felt like I had scars on the back and earned some stripes and then divisions. You know, sometimes reffing games in second team rugby where I wasn't old enough to play in. So that was a challenge to start off with without just being young into the game. But like, you know, going up to Cambrian Welfare in the middle of the Rhondda, trying to tell them headers up there what you want from on a weekend, or controlling that with no one on the touchline to help you, just on your own, eyes in the back of your head, literally. So that kind of stuff can help you when you get to the SRC and the Premiership, because you then got 2 guys with you who can help assist you in that match. But also you got, like, the further you go up, the skill level does get better, don't get me wrong. And some of the ways some of these teams in the SRC are coached is really good. Like, I got a little bit of an insight of Jason Hyatt does stuff in Aberafan, and it's commendable what he does in the SRC. Like the documents he sends me and how he analyses performance, the number of penalties over the season, where it's incredible the work goes in. People don't understand what goes into the SRC. So the players are a bit more skillful, so the game got a bit more flow, so you're able to know when and when not to blow the whistle. So it does get easier going, but like some youngsters are starting now and they're jumping through really quickly. Oh yeah, great. If you can do it, fantastic. Wish you all the best. But sometimes then they might need those extra couple of years, which me and a couple of others had when we first started. But it's just the way the game is now. But it's just really, really nice and really refreshing to see youngsters coming into the refereeing, because the older ones will get older and finish. But unless you've got a new crop coming underneath in the grassroots, then there is no revolution, you know?
And I think grassroots, I've experienced it through the divisions we're playing in fitness. There is a shortage of referees at grassroots level. Do you think that, you know, you're saying the game has changed a bit from a refereeing perspective as when you were doing your apprenticeship?
Yeah.
Do you think you sort of, you had more of an advantage making mistakes at the lower leagues, which maybe then as you've created less mistakes at the higher level, whereas maybe some of these now coming up, they've gone straight into a higher division and maybe having more costly mistakes? Do you think
there's plenty of scope for that. I fully agree. But sometimes when you're first starting off and everything is brand new to you, you know, a couple of years later, you might not remember a mistake you had a few years ago, and you relive it, and then you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. Like sometimes it is always better, don't get me wrong, to make a mistake in a less high-profile game, because there's less eyes on it, there's less criticism, and you feel less bad for it as well in a way. I remember when I come on the sevens, I'm coming back from, say, Australia or something like that, and I know I got a referee in the Welsh Prem as it was on that Saturday. I would, even if I landed on a Monday or Tuesday from Australia, jet lagged, don't know where I was, I'd make sure on that Wednesday I'd go do a school game, a college game, or a university game to get out of my sevens mindset, my decision making, my lines of running. Just, you don't referee a scrum or a line out in sevens. It just is, as we know it, a nutritional one, you know. So I do that on a Wednesday, and then I'm ready then for the weekend. And I apologise to every student on a Wednesday that I incorrectly penalised or whatever. But that was my way of getting out of that lens or that face, that mask, and putting the 15s one back on ready for Saturday. It's just my way of coping between the two games, because they're completely different, the referee. And I have done games in 15s where I blew out too quick. That's the sevens in me. Didn't need to give that advantage. That's the sevens in me. So the art I found of going back and forth was that alone, being able to transition seamlessly and no one brand you as, oh yeah, he's a sevens ref. So that was quite tough for 5 years.
Interpreting the rules of the game, would you say it's difficult in some cases? The rules change all the time, and what you might give on the pitch may be different to what maybe another referee gives on a given day, isn't it?
Yeah. And look, the game isn't black and white. The game is grey, and we've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable in the grey. And let's be honest, if a referee is, I'm team cream and your team red, if a referee is coming in now and he gives me a decision, you're not going to be happy, and vice versa. But I think the biggest thing you can do as a referee, or the most important thing you can do, is just be consistent. You know, if I'm very quick on giving a holding on penalty, I know you support the Scarlets, if I'm very quick giving a holding on penalty against Cubby or Tane or Josh McLeod, then happy days. As long as I've got the same speed for the other team, then they might be like, oh, Craig, you're a bit quick on rewarding the holding on today. Both team coaches may say that, and Nigel may say it or someone else. But if I was doing it for both, it's not so bad. We can have a conversation. But if I'm really quick on giving you the holding on penalty, but then I'm really slow for the opposition, that's when we get an imbalance, and that's where you're going to cause more criticism and argo. So whatever you do in the first 10, 15 minutes, you've got to be prepared to do in the money time in the last 10, 15 minutes. But don't get me wrong, the pressure sometimes does feel different than a close game. But then it's just being comfortable in that eye of the storm. Like, it's erratic, the crowd, the noise, the players are appealing for stuff. You know, it's busy, it's frantic, you feel pressure, but you just need to stay ice cold in that moment. So like a tornado, everything's going wild around you, but in the center of that tornado is really, really still. So if you can stay in that tornado, being still, then you'll give the game what it needs. The players will decide the outcome, not you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You would have had some crazy experiences at sort of maybe local derbies, and I think you have ref some Scarlets Ospreys games. So
they tell me about it as well, don't they? Yeah. I think every year for the last 3-4 years, I think. Yeah.
Scarlets ever won a game? I don't know. I don't know the stats.
Yeah, I think when the Ospreys went through a weak spot, I think you beat them like 43-5 down in Parker Scarlets. Since then, not much luck. And I've always had to come down then and run touch for your game against the Dragons on Boxing Day, and that far side give me a great welcome. In fairness, is Happy New Year to you, Craig. You know what I mean?
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
But what I will say is, though, after them 2 losses, you won a hell of a run in January then, though.
Oh, flipping it. I mean, we lost to Leinster. I was just like...
class. It was amazing to see you boys there.
You can't knock the effort, but I think out of all the Welsh regions, they've had the best run, considering where Welsh rugby is at the moment.
Yeah, unreal. And look, if you look at the last 4 rounds that the Scarlets had, I think they had, so I think after round 13, when there's 4 or 5 rounds left, I think they had like a 12% chance of making the top 8 playoffs. And I think just that huge result against Leinster at home really changed things. And they got into the top 8, and they deserved to be in the top 8. It was awesome to see. Like, you know, I don't have a team I support at all. I know if you listen to the Scarlets, people probably think I support the Ospreys on Boxing Day, but I generally don't. But I just want to see however many regions they are, I just want to see them all doing well. Like, it was amazing to see Cardiff and Scarlets both in the top 8. Gutted that Ospreys got there or thereabout and didn't sneak in as well, because all the talk around Welsh rugby and stuff like that is filling the media and different things. Like, it's amazing to see how well, especially them 3 regions have done when you compare their budgets to other things. And it just shows like the culture they got there in the teams. It just shows like local lads playing for each other, which is a much stronger bond than having a Barbarians team who are not clicking, you know what I mean? So it's amazing. I think only next year they'll get stronger again.
Do you get influenced by the crowds in your decision making?
Like I touched on earlier, honestly, you don't hardly hear them. You hear them a lot more than they are. When I'm running up and down with that flag, you hear them a lot more then. But like I said, it's like compared to like Zoom. Like, before you kick off, you appreciate you taking the moment, like, because you never know when you walk onto that pitch for the last time. You never know when that's going to be. So if you've got nice full stadiums or crowds, especially in derbies or what have you, or big European games and international games, you've got to take it in. Because the main thing is, yes, you're there to do a job, but you got to enjoy it. And if you're enjoying it, you're probably going to get a better outcome for everyone. So when you're there, like I know I said a comparison to Zoom, you can see everything. But as soon as that ball is kicked off, it's like someone's put a blur in the background. It's just you, the ball, and those 30 players that are on that pitch. When you stop for a scrum, an injury, or something like that, I wouldn't say a TMO because you've got to focus. But when you stop for like an injury, or you're going to get to set up a scrum or a line out, then it's like the blur goes again. Then you can see people's faces, you can appreciate they're there, there's a noise, you get it. But as soon as that ball comes back into play again, or you're doing your crouch bind set process, it's back to Zoom, blur is there, and you just back tunnel visioned in on what's needed.
You get in the zone.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you have to.
I guess being a referee can be quite tough at times because when you're on the winning side, we love the referees. Sometimes we get, good decisions that maybe help us or go in favour. It could be maybe a soft yellow and then by the rules they get red carded and we're up an advantage. So sometimes that's good for, and I am a Scarlets fan, right? So I'm coming from that sort of perspective. Why wouldn't I be? But also on the flip side, I think Leinster. Actually, what's your take on this? There was the try. Leinster scored. It was a touchdown. I didn't see the ball grounded. Do you know which try it was?
No comment.
No comment. Oh, okay. I know his thoughts.
No, I know which one you're on about. And I was that was the quarterfinal, yeah.
That was the quarterfinal.
Yeah, it was on the way back from.
Because the thing is, they still would have lost the game. So I'm not one to say that we were robbed, and because actually, they beat us by a bit more. But the try that I'd seen Leinster score, I can't remember who scored it. I didn't see the downward pressure on the hands. It was almost like his chest.
You can score with the torso. It doesn't got to be the hands. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh well, if that's the case, it was a try then.
Yeah, you haven't got to just be the hands. You can score from the torso up there.
Did that rule change?
No, it's always been since I started.
Yeah, okay.
But look, I get it, and I think, I mean it's the nicest possible way. Sometimes the devil is in the detail, and sometimes we don't give him much knowledge around the changes or the laws to the fans, to the public.
That doesn't get
sort of
shared,
because
does it?
Yes, it's a game of rugby, but it's business and it's entertainment. If we can. I mean, it's a nice possibility. Not educate people because they're dull and they don't understand it, but if you can educate them on, especially the changes, everyone knows the crux of rugby, and everyone's going to have an opinion if it's a tight head or a loose head, or if that's a high tackle or not a high tackle. But when it comes to the headshots, the grounding, why we're chalking off tries, if we can give more education to the fan and the public of why we're going down this route, at least they can follow. They might still not disagree with us, but at least they can go, all right, okay, I understand why the referee has gone down this route, X, Y, and Z. Okay, I get it. You might not agree with it, but at the moment, if there's not much understanding there, then it's just a pure opinion straight away. Yeah. Where I think that can be damning on times. And
on the bad side, then maybe fans who maybe feel referees have robbed them or wronged them by bad decision making. Have you ever experienced any sort of abuse from the fan side through social media?
I can guarantee that no referee goes out with the prerogative of one team's going to win this game, because the following day they get a P45. It's just the way it is. Like, I don't care. I know in the URC we've got neutrality. So I can only referee a Welsh team against a Welsh team. I can't do a Welsh team against an Irish or Scottish or whatever, which is fine.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And that's only when things go wrong. Like, so if I done a game now and something went against the Welsh team, they'd be like, oh, well, he's trying to make it not obvious that he's trying to protect the Welsh team. Or if I give something to the Welsh team, oh, he's protecting his homeland. Like, you can't win. Yeah. But I'll swear on anyone's life, I really believe this, that nobody will go out and think, oh, I got to get these home today. I got to get their home today. Oh, I give a crappy penalty, but I better level it up later on so it's a bit balanced. No, it doesn't matter, because it's our own values as a person, as a referee, as a competition, as an organisation, is integrity. We've got to be true to what we're doing. It takes that element out of it with neutrality, but it also narrows down the amount of games we can do a weekend. Because there's probably only, I think in the URC, out of the 8 games a weekend, unless the regions are playing each other, there's only 4 we can do. As Welsh officials, and I think it's the same with Ireland because they got 4 teams. Scotland got a bit more options because you got 2. Italy, you got 2. So South Africa, Wales and Ireland, there's only a certain amount of games they can do a weekend. And over the course of the year with the referees, you may be doing 10 to 12, between probably 9 and 12 games potentially. But yeah, nobody goes out to set that up. But I've never come off a pitch thinking, what am I doing this for? Like, I've never been personally attacked. My wife or kids never been personally attacked. But I've seen and witnessed some of the stuff other referees have gone through. I'm not going to name names, but you're talking death threats via social media, via email addresses, and how they've got these people's email address, I don't know. I've seen people abuse referees on their parents' obituary on Facebook, chasing after the family. There are some nations which are worse than others and will go to any length. I'm not going to name the 2 countries that are in my head because I said I haven't got a boost. I probably will after this podcast if I name those 2 countries. So I'm going to leave it there. But I've seen some stuff and you're thinking, geez, I know you're passionate about your team. But it's a game of rugby like?
Game at the end of the day.
Yeah, and sometimes I see that. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm my own worst critic. If I miss a knock on, if I give a forward pass that wasn't, if my team on field, like I always say that I'm the captain, I'm the leader of the team, like between myself, the 2 ARs and a TMO. But like I try and get everything myself to take them out of the game. But if it's something to slip through the net, then I need them to be ready. But like anything that goes wrong in the game or something we should have got, which is a big decision, and we didn't, then that feels like a ton of bricks on me. And it does for probably a couple of days till I can park it and move on. And I always tell my team, I'd rather have like 30 seconds of being uncomfortable in a game and we get the right decision, whether it's a longer TMO. I don't care, as long as we get the right decision. I'd rather have that than be talking about for 3-4 days in review. Like people think me probably just turn up on a Saturday, ruin someone's afternoon, go home and watch Ant and Dec on Saturday night takeaway, get a Chinese, do nothing for 4 or 5 days, travel to another country, ruin someone else's weekend again. Like the quickest part of my job is the game. The preparation before it, the hours of preparation before it, everyone's different what they do. I've done less recently because if I keep things simple, that's when I perform the best. When I try and overanalyze things, I haven't got a clear mind going into the game, and that's what really affects me. Some people watch X amount. Everyone's different, and you've got to know your way, which works for you. But like the game is the quickest thing. The review, then, like I'll have my own I'll have my opinion. I'll have my referee manager's opinion from Wales. I'll have Nigel's opinion. And then I'll have the URC selector's opinion as well. I might even get both coaches' opinions in there as well. You're talking 80-minute game of rugby. There's 6 different opinions. Do you think there's alignment?
Probably not.
Not on 100% of it, no. On the majority of the clips, yes. But the review process is by far the longest part of my job. So if people think like there's no reprimand or stuff like that, there is. Everything is graded. Everything is recorded. Certain fixtures aren't given to certain referees on the back of performances, and rightly so.
That happens, does it?
Yeah, of course it does. I promise you that.
Wow.
I promise you that. If someone's not performing, like for instance, like if someone's consistently not performing and you've got a massive top of the table clash, which would have been now Leinster Bulls, say, you're not going to put a referee in as not performing because you're setting that person up to fail, the competition to fail, and the whole refereeing and organisation as a brand up to fail. You've got to put someone in there who's performing well, competently, and will execute that job the best they can. And sometimes you do get things wrong in games. I'd rather have 1 or 2 non-decisions than errors. I'd rather have that. But there's going to be times where you do get stuff wrong because at the end of the day, we're human. Look, we make mistakes. Players, the unfortunate thing, players will miss a tackle, they'll knock a ball on, they claps a scrum, they take something in the air. But if someone misses a tackle, there's 14 other players with a chance of tackling that one person. But like if we make a mistake, then ultimately sometimes it ends up in field position, points, yellow card, or it's such a momentum swing sometimes. So, sometimes you get a game, 200 rucks in a game, 40 line outs, 16 mauls, 17 scrums. You might only get 20 penalties though. So a lot of times you're making decisions, but also making decisions not to make them.
I think obviously you mentioned there about other countries will maybe give more abuse or will personal attack more than others. I think for myself in Wales, I don't think we're that sort of tribal in a sense towards referees. I mean, there are some things that you just
there's some out there.
There are some. There probably are, but there are in most cases. But if I was to generalise the sport, if I compare football to rugby, one thing I cannot understand, and this is probably why I sort of, as a young person, I was big football fan, and I kind of like, there's a lot of culture in football I personally don't like. One of them is the respect for the referees.
Yeah.
How football players, especially like in Europe, how they treat the referees is disgusting, honestly. But when I've played and I've watched, I've never seen somebody threatened to punch a referee or anything like that at an international level at broadcast.
Yeah.
Why is it that rugby players respect the referees more in rugby versus other sports?
Well, have you noticed that rugby referees wear a comms for the TV and football don't? Have you noticed that? Our voice is broadcast to TV.
Yeah.
Football isn't, is it? It's because there's so much abuse and foul language that be put over the mic for TV, viewers, kids and everything. But let's be honest, with body language, you might not hear what the player is saying by sure can lip reading what he's saying. And like I think in a lot of sports, especially in rugby, the bulk of the problems aren't on a Saturday afternoon, they're a Sunday morning. The bulk of the problems are junior rugby. That's when the referees, I probably won't be far off saying the most code of conducts that come into the WRU are from things that happen in junior rugby on a Sunday morning than Saturday afternoon in the national leagues. My little Johnny's the best. I seen a video the other day. It was only on Twitter the other day where I think it was rugby league. This under 14s team were taking a conversion on the corner of the pitch. You know, the away team's fans and parents behind, like leaning over the barrier, hurling abuse at that kid. He's probably 13, and you got like a 40-year-old. Grow up, just grow up. It's embarrassing. Imagine watching that back and yourself thinking, "What am I doing?"
That's crazy.
It's embarrassing, but. There is a lot more respect in rugby, and you know there has been talk the last couple of years where it's turning a bit with all the arms in the air, the appealing, you know, the fake headshots to get TMOs to check things, or the staying down. It's playing the game, I suppose. And you know, if players go down injured, I'm certainly not smart enough to be a doctor. You know what I mean? And everyone knows, you know. If a player goes down and get injured and the game's on stop, the TMO will always sweep to see how that player is injured and obviously check if it's foul play. If it's foul play, we'll deal with it. But like if it's something that's like friendly fire or just he's a bad leg, we'll just get on with the game. But like I swear down that when the player is down with the physio talking to him, there's a coach in the ear saying, "You stay down now, let's force the TMO to a little check of this." It happens, it's just sports, but there's not much we can do about that element, but yeah, I would never referee a game of football. Never.
That looks just incredibly difficult. Do you remember that game when Nigel was ref in Scotland? And I can't remember, was it Finn Russell or it was either the number 10, number 15, and he goes down and he says, dive like that again.
No.
Come back and play next week. Yeah, because they're playing football, right?
They were playing in St James's Park, weren't they?
I think so.
St James's Park. Is that Newcastle's ground, isn't it? St James's Park? Is that Newcastle?
No,
because I think it was during the 2015 World Cup, wasn't it?
No, I think it was a Six Nations game, I'm sure.
Oh, it was Six Nations, is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty
I thought
sure.
He was like, come back next week and they're playing football because the game was in Newcastle's ground.
Well, or maybe that's what it was.
Through the 2015 World Cup when Scotland may have been playing someone up in Newcastle, maybe.
That's what it would have been.
I think that's what it might have been, yeah. Yeah, he's cut with some of the one-liners and, you know, if I cut some couple of one-liners on pitch, I'd either be saying you're trying to be Nigel Owens or Nigel Owens be saying, telling me to shut up, so. Yeah.
What have been some of your highlights of your career so far?
I'd certainly say the 5 years I was on the Sevens was a massive enjoyment from a personal point of view. You know, traveling the world for a hobby, following the sun, chasing the rugby ball. You know, to do the Sevens World Cup in San Francisco, and they changed the baseball ground into a rugby pitch. You know, Commonwealth Games in the Gold Coast, and albeit I know it was COVID, but it went ahead. We still had the Tokyo Olympics out there with no fans, which is a bit strange. It'd be a cool story in 10, 15 years' time. That was really cool. Obviously, my first international in Twickenham, going to the World Cup as an AR. And if someone asks me, like, what is the game you remember the most? It's very difficult because a lot of the games I've done so far can be special in different ways, if that makes sense. Like, you know, certain milestones or, you know, like that Division 6 game, I don't know, 15 years ago, whenever it was. That was the most special game at the time because it was my first game in the national leagues. And then it might have been, or just before national leagues, then my first game in the national leagues might have been, I think it was Comtoch against someone. I was at Trebanos. Like, that is special. You never forget those first ones. So you can't always think, like, what's your favourite game? And you go straight to the top. You can't, because what have you done in the process of getting there? You know, some of the big games in France with them crowds, you know, World Cup standing there, the opening game, France, New Zealand with the ACCA is just phenomenal. Like, there's there's moments of trips, games, competitions, tournaments, which will never leave. But it's only when you stop and you think when being asked a question, or you reflect back at the end of the season, does the penny drop? But I'd be it's not surprising that there's a lot of it I've forgotten until you have a conversation and the mind starts going
like
backwards.
Today.
Yeah, and you drop and you think like, oh yeah, remember that? And like sometimes you might have to talk with someone who's there with you and think, oh, remember we done this? Oh yeah, we did, didn't we? And that's not that we weren't present at the moment. Just you've been lucky enough to experience so many amazing things, and I hope it continues even longer.
And I'm sure you got a lot more left in your career because you're quite young as a referee.
Hopefully, yeah. The legs keep going.
You've been performing at a sort of very high level now over these last few years. And as a Welsh rugby fan, I'd love to see you get a World Cup. That would be awesome for Welsh sport. One day. It is going to happen. One day, it is going to happen. But obviously in your career, you haven't had things all singing and dancing because you would have had some bad games, maybe bad decisions.
Yeah.
But more recently, you had a bit of a mind shift where you were sort of in a negative space refereeing. Tell me a bit about that, Craig.
Yeah. As ironic it was, I lost my father on April the 1st last year.
It's ironic because he was a joker.
Yeah. Yeah, and... you kind of, April Fool's Day will never be the same again. It will in a way that I can remember him in a light-hearted and great manner. But it was crazy. He had a bit of ill health for the few months leading up into it. But this, you can say it came as a shock, but nothing ever prepares you when they actually do go. I ref Leinster Bulls on the Friday night, and it's quite ironic how it all unfolded. I ref Leinster Bulls, 77.5 minutes in. I turned to follow play. I think Willie Roux went, so I went with him, and my left leg just thought, no, you're not. Just buckled underneath me, and I done the ligaments in my right ankle, and I was out for about 3-4 weeks. And I thought, gutted, because the week after I was meant to ref Montpellier Ulster in a European knockout game. So
Has that ever happened to you, injured during a game? High-level game?
First time in a professional game. Remember not far off when I started, I was ref for my home club, Gleneath against Dunvant, I think it was youth, I think it was. Yeah. I remember running for a try, and I popped my right calf muscle, and I was like, shivers, here we go. How am I gonna end this game now without being embarrassed? And then team went to kick off, and my left one went, and I was playing stuck in the mud. I couldn't go anywhere. So the next thing I done, about 15, 20 minutes left in the game, I blew the final whistle, and everyone's like looking confused, and I'm just stood in the halfway line, can't move. So nothing's happened since then, thankfully. That happened on the Friday night, flew home, went to see my dad on the Sunday afternoon. Not great. Someone came in and spoke to us, about his health and that. We said, do you want to go in a separate room? Because even though my dad wasn't talking too much at the time, because of the medication, you're still able to listen perfectly. So we're like, do you want to go somewhere else? Like, no, it's fine. No. If we can talk, it was no problem. So we thought, okay, this is promising. He's like, we've got to see certain things change coming forward. But then before we left, he thanked me, my brother, and my mother for coming down. And I felt a bit guilty because I hadn't been there much that week because I was away in Ireland and that. So I was like, did you just say that? My mother was shocked, my brother was shocked because he hadn't said anything for probably a week or so because just the medication and feeling tired and that. And it was just crazy. Like, he said that, I walked away and I thought nothing of it. I thought, maybe that's a sign that he's going to pull through. But no, 3:20 that Monday morning, April the 1st, he'd gone. Which was tough, yeah. Like anyone, like we spoke earlier about yourself as well. And then, you always think you're all right. How are you? Yeah, I'm fine. 2 weeks later, we had the funeral on the 15th. The day later, I scattered the ashes and I went straight from the doing that to Heathrow to fly to South Africa for 2 weeks. And then when I was there in South Africa, I ref the second game. So it'd been about 4 weeks since my ankle got taken out by Marius Lowe on the 55th minute at the back of the line. Now bust my left ankle. And I thought, people always told me it comes in threes. So my right foot's gone. Lost my father, my left foot. Surely I should do the lottery. I need some luck, Done that. Came home for 6 days and went again for 2 weeks. And someone's like, Craig, you need to slow down. You can't be going down there. But I actually thought at the time it was coming at the right time. Like everything's going on at home. I thought taking myself outside the bubble and coming to terms with myself was the right thing to do. In essence, it does sound a perfect scenario and good timing. But then I'm not going to South Africa on holiday and going on the trip. I'm going there to perform. I'm going there to work. You know what I mean? So we got through it. I got back, and then I remember ref Scarlets against Dragons in Judgment Day last year, which ended up being the Cardiff City Stadium. And like games were going, I'll be honest, like 2-3 months after that happening to the close of the season, games were going well, but there was always something in that game which is like taking a little bit of a shine off it. And then as soon as I refed that game, I know that was my domestic season wrapped up. And it was like as if it just all hit me at once, like massive weight. And I thought, no, I can't go on like this. And like, you know, you have to speak up, you have to talk. You know, if I started crying, you know, I really, really wouldn't care. I don't care who sees it. It's just emotion, and nothing wrong with emotion. I know people are more open these days, and so they should be. And like I just noticed every 2 weeks, like, oh yeah, I'm fine. But I actually was fine. But then I realized a couple of weeks before it, when I was saying it, I wasn't as fine there because I'm better now. It's just crazy how it moves on. But at that point, I thought, no, I got to sort this out. So I remember I was in Ireland before I ran Touch, and I was just going on LinkedIn and social media and stuff like that, trying to find someone. I didn't want to find a shrink. I didn't want to find a Dexter, a scientist, because like I just don't get on with them kind of people. I like to have a normal conversation. And I found this guy called Greg Meehan. He's a performance and mindset coach from London. Done a lot of work with UFC, MMA fighters, PGA golfers, Premier League footballers. You know, the most recent client of his that he's done a lot of work with over the years is Conor Benn. So I linked up with him. Like, I need to see if he was the right guy for me, and vice versa, if he could help me and work with me. So we did, and we done like a 6-month period together. It was phenomenal. Like, he able me to understand emotions a lot better, how to park it, how to move on, some coping mechanisms. Like he taught me like this toolbox with tools in there, what to approach from and when. Gave me an idea of some books to read, and like people reading this my age, like I haven't read anything since Biff and Chip in school, like those little kids books, nothing since then. Yeah. I'm all audio podcasts like this, that's what I listen to. But it was actually nice and refreshing to pick up a book, something that wasn't electronic, you know, an iPad, a phone, a laptop, and actually read like self-help books, like, you know, Obstacle is the Way, like different mindsets, or like just self-development books. Is phenomenal. And like my just perception of everything's just changed. And obviously the first year of everything has been absolutely solid on times, like, you know, his birthday, 20th of July, Christmas and stuff like that. You know, Christmas morning, like I got a little boy who was 4 last weekend, and I got a daughter that was born in January. And that morning, like I said to myself, like Hugo's got to be up by a certain time in the morning, because there's just something in me where I had to get up the cemetery that day to go and see him, because like, I know it sounds selfish, but I needed that hour to be good for the next 23. If I didn't have that hour to myself with him, then I probably would have spoilt Christmas for my wife, for the family, for my boy, and that's something I wouldn't have been comfortable with. So I needed to take that time to myself, to just, I don't know, just put that day at ease. And like obviously with Father's Day now on Sunday, like I knew it was my mother's birthday, June the 15th, but I didn't realize it fell on Father's Day as well. But yeah, look, it is what it is. I've learned so much as a person after going through it. I'd rather have him here. But yeah, tough. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And I think, you know, for you to do something about it is, it's what you need and what your family need. Yeah. You've got to look after them, isn't it? And, you know, grief is an interesting thing, because
it comes in waves.
Yeah. You know. Like, you know, I don't know if many people in the audience know, because I'll be honest, I've been quite busy in business, but I lost my mother in Feb this year, and I haven't grieved.
No.
It is going to hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, and if you want to chat, I'd be there, mind.
You know what? We'll go for coffee and chat about things.
There'll be a lot of coffees.
We love a coffee. But yeah, for me, it's you know, my priority is my wife and my family, and the business facilitates that. So, you know, the other day, when Mother's Day was was it like a month ago? I remember walking in Asda thinking, Mother's Day banners everywhere. Oh, gosh, it's Mother's Day. I better get my mother a card. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, she's gone.
Yeah, I know.
And my mother was a nurse. She worked.
My wife's a nurse as well. Yeah.
39 years she was a nurse for. She worked in the renal unit in Morrison Hospital, and yeah, it was very powerful leading up to a funeral. But Mum was a nurse, and I was ill. I was full of cold like 2 weeks ago. And when I'm ill, the thing I always do is phone Mum.
Yeah.
Should I take this? Should I take that? And
Yeah.
and I literally, when I go phone her, she's still in the favourites on my phone now. And I'm
Same.
like, oh, if I phone her, she's not going to answer.
Yeah, no.
It's just these moments of... But
it could be anything. Like that week after my father passed away, you know, he passed away at 3:20 in the morning. From Monday through to Friday, I walked the first time I walked during the night to go to the toilet was 3:20 in the morning. It's phenomenal. Like it could be like he was in the Merchant Navy for 20 odd years, working for Texaco on the oil stuff, and then he had a job working with petrol tankers with SOP, and like every so often I'd be just driving I live on the M4. You know, I can tell you every bend, every services, whether it's a Starbucks, Costa, M&S or Waitrose, and all the services on the way to Heathrow. I can tell you that. Yeah. And like just now and again, you just see like a petrol tanker go past, and you just see the little red Hoyer on the door. Or, you know, like the other day, I was just taking my boy swimming down Neath Leisure Centre, and just this grey Mercedes GLE Jeep pulled up, and I've seen hundreds in the past, but in that moment, I saw that and I broke down. You just can't prepare for it.
Yeah, it's weird, and grief. People experience it in different ways. There is no one side formula, and the fact you reached out to get that help is great. And you're right. Then you've got to find the right person as well that fits you. Because there are many ways to get better and get help, but there are different methods to do it. There's NLP, there's psychology, there's just the simplicity of having a chat. Sometimes it's just as simple as having a chat. But you know what,
like I know if people, mates who will watch this and listen to it, will laugh the next bit I say because they always give me shit about it. But like I said to you before coming in, like the last 18 months and I've done a lot of like the ice tubs and the saunas and that, like in Revive, the cold water therapy.
I see it on Instagram.
I love it. I love it. And it's got to the point now where, you know, if I'm on a tough day, whether it's, you know, I try going on a Monday to get the stress of rugby, travel and that out of my head. Then I go towards the end of the week before I fly ready for the next game to clear the mind to be in the best place I can. But there's times that I've gone then and I'm having a crappy day just reflecting back on what we just spoke about. And, you know, just going down there, like being quiet, still and just like controlling the thoughts and breathing in like the cold and then just going in the sauna and the feeling after it is... It's unmatched. Like it really is a match, and there's times where you know, people take a mick out of it. But yeah, I might go 2-3 times a week, but it all works for me, and it allows me to be better in myself, but it also allows me to be better in the house for the family. So it's a win-win situation, you know. And I recommend not sitting in 2 degrees or 4 degrees isn't a coping mechanism for all. But like if someone hasn't done it, I recommend them doing it because now if I get physical benefits after training or what have you from that, happy days. But the main reason I go is for the mental aspect, clearing the mind, de-stress, and then just switching off. Like, you know, life is tough, life is fast, life is busy. You got to know now and again when to pull that handbrake up. Because if you don't, you're going to crash into a wall and then you're going to have bigger problems. So I know people get injured and you do prehab and rehab. Everyone ends up doing rehab. No one does the prehab. If you do the prehab, you hopefully don't get there. So it's like just a different piece of the jigsaw, but it's so underrated. But I'm massive advocate of it.
Good advocate of looking after yourself because if we don't, then we're only going to do further damage to maybe those who rely on us and depend on us.
Definitely.
And in your case, you'd have a lot of fans or players relying on you. So to perform at your best, you've got to look after yourself, haven't you? Yeah,
you look at Ryan Giggs, the reason he was so successful towards the end of his career, like Rio Ferdinand, was all like yoga and Pilates, but that was the craze then. It's still important now. But sometimes it's not about hammering yourself in the gym or hammering yourself on the road or stuff like that. It's okay just to, you know, turn the temperature down a little bit and do something a little bit easier. You got to look after the body, and by looking after the mind, you can look after the body, and vice versa. It's all one big machine.
And this podcast, Craig, is all about personal stories.
Yeah.
We've got to hear some of yours today, which has been very interesting, and I've really enjoyed listening. And for you, if you could hear anyone's personal story, it could be somebody who's been very inspirational, influential in your career as a referee. It could be something outside of another sport. Who knows? Whose story would you love to hear?
Only one? Can you choose one? You put me on the spot for one?
Go on.
if you're going to put me on the spot for one, if I was going to go sport, I'd probably go down the route of someone like a Rafael Nadal or a Michael Phelps. Go down that route. It'd be great to hear something from a different sport and how they got so successful continuously, making it look effortlessly, how they got that balance between everything they'd done and being ready for the money time when it mattered in the pool, on the tennis court, then what they'd done during the week, or what they'd done to get to that stage, I suppose. But from a business point of view, I think it'd be interesting to sit down with someone like Jeff Bezos, with Amazon. Like, how can you go from doing something so small to then, I can order a parcel now in 10 minutes, might be here by 10 o'clock tonight. How would you manufacture that, So, just two different ends of the spectrum, something completely different away from rugby. Like, when I like to watch sport documentaries, I'll watch the odd rugby when it pops up, but I really like to go into like the Formula One with Drive to Survive and stuff like that. I love to have a different insight, even if it's sports I don't like. Like, I'm not a big fan of golf. I probably haven't got the patience, but I enjoy that full swing. So different things that gotta be good.
Good. Well, Craig, thanks for coming down.
No problem.
Really appreciate you coming down the A465 down from Tonna to share your personal story. And I hope that one day, as a Welsh referee,
fingers crossed,
we will see you there representing Wales. You won't be able to referee Wales if they're in the World Cup, but it'd be great to see that representation there. And for those who maybe want to learn more or follow your career, do you have any social pages that people get to learn more about you? Yeah,
if people want to ask questions, then please fire away. I'm on Instagram there. Or if there's anyone watching this that thinks, I wouldn't mind giving refereeing a go, but I don't know where to start or who to contact, then just hit me up and I'll help you as much as I can. I'll put you in the right direction of someone who can help you. So if you're a young aspiring referee, give Craig a DM. Craig, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm sure that your father is very proud of your career. So hope you've reflected on this now. Yeah. And continue reaching the dream to keep playing at this elite level as a Welsh professional referee. Diolch, Craig. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.